Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mark Edis, a.k.a. Shark, the PA announcer and DJ from your Savannah Bananas, and you are watching the Legends on Deck podcast with hosts Brian Koss and David Condi.
Welcome to episode 108 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host, David Condi. And today's guest, we have an author with us today and a guy that holds many different titles. He's a community leader, former elected official, well-known in both the business and baseball community here in Central Florida. And he has recently written Grand Slam Leadership, a book about using business or baseball principles and winning strategies to apply them to business and life. Bobby Olszewski, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian and David, for having me. Very excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And as I was looking in the background of what's behind you, we talked prior to starting, all the memorabilia you have behind you. I start to see one familiar face in everything, which I wasn't paying attention to it before. And I see that Gary Carter is in a lot of those photos. So I assume that he's one of your favorite ball players.
He's not one of. He is my favorite baseball player. I mean, growing up, first thing I did when I first played baseball in Little League is I went right to the catcher's gear. I think it's because I thought I was cool because I got to wear extra equipment, I'm sure is why I did it. But I was a catcher my whole life and emulated Gary Carter both on and off the field. And truly, a couple of years ago, I said, you know what? I collected all of his baseball cards. Now in this stage in my life, I think I'm going to go after some memorabilia. And of course, that's why he's in the introduction of the book, Grand Slam Leadership, where I just kind of summarize everything on Gary Carter, the way he conducted himself, not only on the field as a World Series champion and an all-star and a Hall of Famer, but as a wonderful father, a husband, and a human being and making a difference in my community. So without a doubt, Gary Carter has had a big impact in my life. And that's why I chose to really start off the book by having a tribute to him right after the introduction.
Well, I have to say this, and this is true. Growing up, I'm a Mets fan. I've been a Mets fan my whole life. Unfortunately, we don't win a lot, but that's what a true fan is. Stay with your team. And when he came to the Mets, he was my favorite ball player. I even did his whole batting stance when I used to play baseball, but I would always strike out because I couldn't get the bat down all the way up here, and I couldn't get the bat, down quick enough. My dad used to tell me, "Why are you batting that way? Go back to your batting stance." No, it's Gary Carter. I have to bat like him. So yeah, he was one of my favorite guys on and off the field. Like with all the craziness the Mets went through the year in '86, he stayed true to who he is. Didn't waver who he was, and now you hear stories about him. Lenny Dykstra and Wally Backman, all these guys talk about him, how he was just the one guy that he stayed firm on what he believed, and he didn't change, and everyone looked up to him. So, I'm glad that we had a Gary Carter that we were able to look up to, growing up.
It's kind of funny you brought up Lenny Dykstra. When Gary passed, Lenny Dykstra was in prison. Mm-hmm. And the judge gave him permission to leave prison so he could attend Gary Carter's funeral. So that shows you the impact that Gary had on a lot of people.
True. So let's kind of dive into the book a little bit. Kind of share your background on how you came to loving the game, and then what inspired you to write your Grand Slam Leadership book?
Like I said, excuse me, baseball's been a part of my life ever since I was a small boy. And I mean, my up until when I went to college, I tried to walk on as a catcher at the University of South Florida, but they had 4 catchers and got cut, during the fall workouts before the season started. And I said, I got to do something else now, and started off working in sports and working for their athletic department, but always a passion for baseball. I helped announce their games, and just from there, it started off a career in sports. And I've always been, passionate about working in the communication field, about writing. and I always wanted to write a book. And now with a lot of activities this past year, with being involved with the Orlando Dreamers trying to get Major League Baseball here to Orlando and Central Florida, it just reignited that spark. And I said, the time is right. And being an academic, having a background in business administration and teaching as an adjunct professor, and having to do a lot of research in my life, I said it was time to finally put the ink to paper. And so here we are with the Grand Slam leadership, and just a wonderful, exciting project, and really proud to have it out in the marketplace.
Well, Brian's been raving about it, so I'm gonna have to pick up a copy myself. He kind of shared with me a little bit of how the book merges from baseball to the business side, and I think we can all kind of adapt to that. Like, we all can kind of agree to that. Like myself, I love baseball, and a lot of times I try to with my own businesses, try to bring in the two together. So I'm interested to see how you were able to bring that together and what I can learn from you. So I'm looking forward to reading the book.
Well, the one thing on it that I think really the start of it was like during COVID. I think a lot of people, being remote, or being on the sidelines for a little bit there. I think really during that time, I think the rules changed for a lot of people. I mean, the way we grew up and the way we were taught, all of a sudden nothing made sense anymore. And I know from in a workplace environment, I was kind of frustrated how, where's the rule book we're playing from now? And I was looking for something, and I'm definitely a man of faith. So outside of my faith, that's always grounded me. I said, what's something else that we can, show people, and what we can hold up to, that is a wonderful analogy for life, and that's baseball. And when you think about all the ups and downs of a long season, I mean, the analogies are there that baseball and life are synonymous. And when you think about, really baseball is strategy, and then you have business as execution. But then when you talk about leadership is really about people. And I think in today's world, we really, look at all of the hedge funds and and capital investment firms that are only about the bottom line. But at the end of the day, it's people that make the difference. It's people who we respond to as other human beings and individuals. And so I think, having that baseball analogy to life and to business, it's just a perfect example. And I think just a wonderful book. And, when I wrote it, I always had in mind that even if you're not a huge baseball fan, I think there's something that you can take from it. And that was my whole purpose in writing it, is giving enough background on the game, giving some examples by using, real life legends and people tied to the game of baseball, but then applying it to a business setting, and then giving, the strategy example on how you can apply it the next day at work in your daily life. And I think that's what I, try to do in a motivational way to, tie the game of baseball into everyday life, into business, and allowing, people to read it, to be a success, both, on and off the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right, and I think it does that in so many ways. So, as I mentioned to David, we were talking this afternoon, and I was kind of going through like the structure of the book, which I've told you before, I really like the structure, and how it, like, the first, every chapter you pick a baseball story, and or something related to the game of baseball. So of course your Gary Carter is the first chapter, which kind of sets the tone for it, right? And you go through how what Gary Carter's career was. So if somebody didn't know him, they would be able to see the type of leadership qualities that he had, and then you relate it through into the business strategy. There was another chapter on the importance of a farm system, right? So baseball has a farm system. We kind of groom and develop players through the farm system that eventually become major league stars, similar to the way that you would manage a business, and you would try to identify talent and develop them in a way that they could take over roles for you. There was another one about pinch hitting, and I'm drawing a blank on the player that you mentioned in there, but there was a statistic that you had mentioned that I had never heard before, about some of the best pinch hitters of all time. So again, it was like a baseball. What I like about it is, and I think you're right, you can be a baseball person and really like the book from a strategy, baseball history, statistics standpoint, or you could just be a business type person that would dive into it and say, hey, wow, that's an interesting, you might be a casual baseball fan, or somebody that is, maybe like the game when you were younger, but then be able to take those ideas and apply them. So that's what I like particularly about the book. It was very unique in that sense.
And I appreciate that. And you were talking about Lenny Harris, who was the
Yeah.
all-time hits leader as a pinch hitter in Major League Baseball history. And
Yes.
that's what I try to do. Look for unique, situations and stories that, can be related to anybody, not only a baseball fan. So thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, I think it was great in the sense that and it's the other thing I will say about it. It's actually a very, even though there are many chapters to it, I think you had 27 chapters, but it's actually a quick read in the sense that each chapter is structured in a way where it's quick. And David and I talk about this all the time. In today's environment, for media consumption, and just the way that people digest information, it is hard to get people to read full books. Between podcasts, between the even articles, what we write, we talk about that. But if you structure it in a way that it's digestible, and I think that's where this book hits the mark, is that it's very digestible. You even have bullet points and things in the book where it's more like a checklist, which I think is very beneficial.
And that's why I wanted to structure it, is because you look at a lot of times, people don't have time to read novels like we did in years past, and you want to make something to where it's you can utilize it. And I have 55 chapters, and I do something unique after each 10 chapters. What I call a movie break, and so we do an analysis on baseball movies, from The Field of Dreams, League of Their Own, Major League, The Sandlot, and then Bull Durham. And so we take those movies that we all know and love, and we tie the principles and leadership and life principles from those films into an actionable lesson that the reader can apply in their life.
I love it.
So my church in the summertime, they'll take movies and we'll watch a movie day, and then they'll break it down until how it relates to our life with God, walking with God. And so I've never seen it in the way you do it. So that's what I'm saying. I'm getting more excited that I'm a little upset that Brian didn't send me the book so I can read it.
Yes. Well, you know what, David, I will now. I will now. Since I've finished it, I'll pass it.
No, it's okay. I'll get my copy to make sure.
There you go.
Support him.
Well, I tell you what, I have a way, and I'll be breaking news on your podcast right now. Obviously, next week is opening day on Wednesday night, and Thursday is opening day of the Major League Baseball season. And if you go to Amazon, you can download the Kindle version of this book absolutely free to celebrate opening day for 2 days next week. So you and your listeners and your readers can get a copy of the book for free, Grand Slam Leadership, on Amazon Kindle, to celebrate MLB's opening day.
And we'll make sure we share that out also all over social media as well. And then,
absolutely.
Once the deadline passes, then for their families, they can go buy the book and keep supporting you.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the people reading this book so far?
I've gotten obviously my mom and wife love it, and so of course, what are they going to say? But a lot of coworkers and friends that I haven't even thought of in a while have reached out and said that they bought it, and of course, seeing the the comments online from reviews has been really a grateful feeling. And something kind of unique I just got to experience about 2 weeks ago is my wife and daughter and I went up to Savannah. We were able to see one of the secret peel games for the Savannah Bananas, and I highlight them in 2 chapters, including their founder Jesse Cole, the man in the yellow tux, and I also highlight Jackson Olson and Kyle KJ Jackson. And it was really special after the game. I was able to give them a copy of the book. And so that was really neat. And KJ, when he
That's
got it,
great.
immediately put it in his belt in the back. And so that, and I got a nice picture of him, with that, still signing autographs with a copy of Grand Slam Leadership in tow. And so that was neat to have that experience. But the feedback has been positive, particularly from baseball fans. If you love baseball, this is a great book because, like as Brian said, you're going to get a little history, get a little facts maybe that you didn't know, but then you realize how the analogies of baseball and life and business and family and leadership and personal responsibility all go hand in hand.
So any chance that you've been able to get the book into maybe some professional ball players' hands or ex-ball players' hands to be able to look at
Well,
it?
I've been I've been very fortunate for this book. It's been endorsed by a baseball Hall of Famer and 2 Major League All-Stars, and so a Hall of Famer Barry Larkin has endorsed this book, and I have his quote on the cover, and he has his copy along with the MLB All-Stars Johnny Damon and AJ Przinsky, who AJ doesn't have his yet, but he's gonna get it. And so that's kind of neat to have that. And I'm planning, as I always do during the baseball season, going to some games. And I'm a huge Cleveland Indians, Guardians fan. And and Stephen Kwan is kind of like my favorite player now that I love following. I love how unique he is to the game of baseball because you really don't see a player like him in today's game. And I have a chapter of him, so I plan on giving him a copy, whether it's in Miami or Tampa. And we are planning to go up to Cleveland, so maybe I'll see him up there too, but who knows?
It might be a nice little thing to get to, if there's any way possible to get it to Gary's family.
Yeah, I thought about that, and we'll see. Maybe someone's listening that has a connection to him. But yeah, that's a great idea because I think, and his wife Sandy is I think I could probably get her address, so I'll look that up. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, we'll maybe, everyone seems to be on X or something, so we'll maybe put it out there and highlight the maybe we'll take a chapter a day, a chapter a week, Brian, and maybe highlight that without giving away too much information, and just kind of say, hey, maybe you guys want to check out this book and see if we can get it in front of a lot more people.
Well, I think we've had a few previous guests that we may even had a couple Gary Carter discussions with some of our previous guests that had worked with him back in the day. So we'll have to look into that for sure. And the other thing, the bananas thing hits me too, right? So David, I don't know if you knew this, but David and I got in early on the bananas stuff, and we've had a number of guests on the show. And David, I was going to text you earlier, and this is kind of a sidetrack thing, but I also realized that Tanner Allen, one of our guests that was in the Mississippi State college world champion a few years ago, we had him on the podcast, and he's playing for one of the Banana Ball teams now. Yeah. So there's all this, and Jesse Cole, we did an article with him, and yeah, so it's funny how all these networks cross. But I'm glad you got it into the bananas guys. They'll appreciate that. But I wanted to shift a little bit into some of the work that you've been doing in the Orlando area. Now, Bobby's been involved in baseball in the Orlando area for a long time. Obviously, you played here growing up in high school and that. But then even going back about, 10 years now, I'm wearing a Squeeze shirt. And Bobby was involved in getting the Squeeze to Winter Garden in the Florida Collegiate League. And now he is deep into the Orlando Dreamers project. And I know a little bit about it, and I know that Bobby's very involved. And what I have noticed lately is that the Dreamers I think there was a little bit I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people bring it up to me, and they say, "What do you think about the Orlando baseball and Dreamers, and could we get a team and this and that?" And I think when there's a number of possibilities going on right now, and I've noticed there's a grassroots campaign to bring the Dreamers all around the city of Orlando and the suburbs, and kind of building it in a different way. So if you could share any of your involvement with that, it'd be great to hear about.
Well, back in 2022, Pat Williams and I have been have been friends for years, and because of my past involvement as a Winter Garden commissioner and as a former state representative, he just wanted to pick my brain because he knew I was a huge baseball fan. And ironically, his son Bobby Williams and I was a catcher at Dr. Phillips High School. He was a catcher at Edgewater, so we were always in the camps together, and so we became friends. And I mean, competing against each other. So we've known of each other, and my family was an original season ticket holder for the Magic. So Pat Williams was an icon for so many people. So when he asked me to get involved, I said, "Sure, how can I help?" And obviously he's passed, but Jim Schnorf, the co-founder of the Orlando Dreamers, along with Barry Larkin, who's the Major League Baseball ambassador, have picked up that torch and has got us, got us as the Central Florida community in a very good place. And it was pretty exciting because the one thing that the Dreamers have done is they never said that they wanted to go after another franchise or poach another team. It's always been the focus on Orlando and Orange County and what it would mean to Major League Baseball, particularly from an expansion standpoint. And there was a lot of excitement with that team over in Tampa Bay. And we still have our eye on it over there because I know there's a lot of political questions and funding questions and so forth. And so when you look at the demographics and the numbers, a lot of people will say there's no way baseball will have three teams in Florida, but we're the third largest state. I mean, and you look at no one is growing faster and has more people than Orlando than any other market. And of course, Commissioner Rob Manfred has said that they're going to increase by two teams, one out west, one in the east. And I think there's a lot of people maybe with their thumb on the scale for Nashville, but Nashville has the NHL Predators. They have the Titans. Their public money is already tied into the Titans Stadium, and we have the Orlando Magic, where we have a one professional sports team of the four major. I know we have Orlando City, but of the four major teams, and you can see the struggle that Tampa's having, just moving a team from St. Pete to Tampa with the Lightning and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Orlando's primed, and Orange County's primed, and I didn't even mention that the over 80 million tourists that visit Central Florida all over the world. And so I know the Dreamers feel that they just have a wonderful shot, and it's about communicating that. The baseball winter meetings were here in December in Orlando, and the Dreamers team met with a ton of executives and folks in and out of baseball and in the media, and really got that message out there. And I think people are starting to take notice.
I tell Brian, when Brian first brought it to my attention about it, we talked about it. I don't know if Brian remembers, but I pretty much said I think it's a no-brainer. Orlando's a hotbed for baseball. You have all the high schools that do well. You have a lot of the professional ball players that come out of the Orlando area. Of course, like you said, the tourist area. You have so many New Yorkers or people who have moved down who are baseball fans that I know that moved down into the Orlando area. There's a huge baseball community that if you were to put a team there, I truly believe it would probably be one of the most successful teams in Florida because you have Miami, but you don't get a lot of the fan base there. And they're always going through the different teams, they're always changing the players. And you have the Tampa, and I know they have their fan base, but it's just when I visit Orlando and I've seen the baseball community, it's different. It's just a city of its own, and you can draw probably easy, pack the house, and you bring teams in there. And I thought it was a no-brainer altogether. When I found out that the Rays got new ownership and they were looking to really build. I was like, oh man, I was kind of hoping that that didn't happen. It's good. Sorry for all the Rays fans, but I was kind of hoping that it was just focused on in Orlando because I really truly feel that it's probably the next best thing next to the A's going to Vegas. Like you have everything there, and you have so much entertainment for people coming to see baseball. They have so much other things they can do while they're here watching baseball. So I think Orlando needs that team.
Well, you bring up some excellent points. I mean, you look at our competitor in the tourism market, when you look at Las Vegas, they have three professional sports teams.
Mhm.
And now you just saw this week that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said Seattle and Las Vegas as the NBA expansion. So they're going to have four.
Yeah.
Orlando has one. And you alluded to it, David, about geography. You got Miami, you had St. Petersburg. If I draw a circle around that and put that circle in the middle, I'm not being able to pull from geography. We're in the middle of the state, and we're going to be able to pull from population centers from all over. And the one thing that's and again, I'm just a huge baseball fan that has been lucky to be in the right place in the right time, and I'm just grateful the dreamers ask for my opinion. And so, I think here's another opinion is that, next year, I don't think it looks good for baseball to be playing. I think we're going to be looking for, a lockout, and there's no way that expansion is going to be done before that happens and until that's addressed. You can see the stadium issues that they're having in Las Vegas. You can see the stadium issues that are happening in Tampa. I mean, when you look at what those ownership group, they spent over $2 billion, almost $2 billion to buy an asset that they don't know how they're making money. They don't know where they're going to play, and they don't know what the future holds. And then, oh, by the way, less than a year later, you're going to be locked out. And so I think you're going to see a lot of interesting things with the Major League Baseball Players Union when it comes to what's in the best interest of our players. So imagine a four-team division that's going to be a road trip in Miami, in Tampa, and in Orlando and in Atlanta in the same division. That's a lot of less stress, a lot of less nights away from your family, a lot more convenient. And oh, by the way, the state of Florida doesn't have state income tax. And guess what? We have 15 teams here that play spring training. And so a lot of the players live here in the off season. So you're closer to your family. So when you look at things like that, they're going to be coming up more prevalent in these labor discussions with Major League Baseball. And if I'm an owner too, let's see. I'm in it to make money. What's going to make Major League Baseball more money? The 14th largest media market in Orlando, in a growing market, in an international market, or Las Vegas, which is, and you can even combine, I know people bring up Raleigh too. You can combine Raleigh and Nashville, and they still don't equal what we have here, in Orlando by any measure.
That's a great point. I mean, if you look at just the population centers, right? I mean, Clark County, Nevada is nowhere is I think less than 1 million people. And then Raleigh, Nashville, obviously a very growing area, but Orlando is, like you said, 14th largest media market. I mean, Orange County alone is over 1 million people, not to mention the neighboring counties. So it's the biggest market out there without a major league team, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Right.
And I don't know if anyone saw on Netflix, like the documentary, What Happened to the Montreal Expos. And of course, being a Gary Carter fan, I watched it multiple times already. But, one of the main points in there is they lost it because there was a market that was the largest market in the country that didn't have Major League Baseball, and that was Washington, D.C. And guess who got that market? So I think that particularly when the owners really peel back the onion, they're going to see that there's something very exciting about not only being in Orlando that's going to be better for their pocketbooks, but for the fans and then for the players and the Players Association. And, one thing that also happened last month, I'm sure you're familiar with, every year for the Grapefruit League, and here in Florida, we have the Governor's Spring Training Baseball Dinner. and the Orlando Dreamers were the title sponsor of that event. And I was very humbled when Jim and Barry asked me to come with them to that event, sit at their table. And being a former state rep, I knew know Governor Ron DeSantis, and so Barry and I were able to have a conversation with him, and he expressed his excitement about having three teams in the state of Florida. He's mentioned other people in baseball that have talked highly about the Orlando market. And, the most exciting thing is there was two owners there. And so we were actually three owners if you count the race. So there are three owners in that room. And, they were able to, really hear that Orlando story and how Orlando would make a difference and an impact for Major League Baseball in any category that you look at over any other market.
Yeah, and honestly, looking at the state, like you said earlier, Orlando, you're going to draw in from that area. Tampa's still going to draw in from the area they have. Miami's way down the bottom. They're going to draw in the area. There's enough fan base there for all three teams to be successful. And then, you're going to have fans that might drive over from Orlando to Tampa and vice versa. But it's just to have that. I'm in a bad place. I'm in Southwest Cape Coral. So we have nothing but the spring training. And when spring training is over, they leave. and
Right.
with the Florida, the minor league stuff. But it'll just be exciting to have that opportunity to I probably won't go to the Marlins. I'm a Mets fan. I don't like the Marlins, but I probably would be excited to go watch the Rays, shoot over for an hour, go watch the Dreamers, kind of go back and forth. I mean, it's just to me it makes better sense, but obviously, MLB has to get that too. But I just think for the market, for what you're trying to do, for growing the game, it just makes better sense to have you guys.
And the Dreamers have already identified a stadium site right off International Drive, and they plan on having a baseball museum there. Already having conversations with the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown about having some memorabilia and exhibits there for a year-round activity. And then just what we saw over the last couple of weeks with the World Baseball Classic, we talked about the Savannah Bananas. Do you think that the World Baseball Classic being in Orlando wouldn't draw, visitors from all over the world and have all those hotel rooms packed? Or can you imagine that the Savannah Bananas, they sold out the Superdome 2 nights in a row, I think last weekend. Can you imagine if they were in Orlando for a week? I mean, it's a no-brainer. And I think that there's a lot of excitement, about baseball in Orlando, and I just think some things have to align. But I think just like in the book says, we all have a story to tell, and so you have to tell your story. And I think the Dreamers are doing a great job. Andy Herdliska is their chief marketing officer, who is just doing Herculean work. Really the brains about getting out in the community, getting their free giveaways and getting it from the grassroots support. And I think that's what it's about. And then we're just, I say we, but, the Dreamers are just looking for their, the opportunity to be at the right place and the right time when that time comes to talk about baseball expansion once the labor issues get resolved.
Well, you have Disney there, you have SeaWorld, you have Universal. I'm sure that they're going to love the partnership of having baseball there and somehow trying to everyone kind of feed off of each other. I just think it's just the area there is just the perfect place.
Well, the stadium site is practically in SeaWorld's Aquatica's parking lot. Epic Universal is right, not even a mile down the road. You're going to have the Sunshine Corridor with the rail station coming from the airport right there. And you mentioned Disney, and oh, by the way, wouldn't it be great to have spring training at Walt Disney World? So,
Yeah.
well, I think they would have them all covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that stadium site, and I go back to the places that I've seen or the movement that I've seen in Major League Baseball in recent years has been, and it looks like this is what the Rays are trying to do, is the entertainment in proximity to the stadium, right? So Atlanta has done this so well. The way they built their stadium, they built around it. However, Orlando's got I would say, an even better opportunity because the entertainment is already there. And you're just putting a baseball stadium next to the entertainment venues. And so you've got all those possibilities. It's just, it does, and I'm not trying to oversell it and you're in the same way, but for so many reasons, it makes a lot of sense. And the other thing that you guys have done uniquely, you mentioned the marketing side, and I've started to take notice of this in the last month or two, is they're going out in the community and they're going to Little League opening days and they're going to events and they're starting to continuously build like this grassroots effort to get the community to buy in and make, there's always strength in numbers, right? The push for, for a team from the community, and the investors are there, the stadium's there. Let's let the community know and let it be heard. Is that kind of the approach that's going on?
That is, I mean, and you mentioned the investors. They already have signed letters of intent for over $1 billion for stadium construction, and then there's another, I think, another almost $1 billion for team acquisition for the expansion franchise. And that's the thing too that I think a lot of people, with this grassroots effort, I think, folks, in Orange County and our government leaders and the Orange County mayor and commissioners are excited about this opportunity because they can see where it can lead, because you have that private investment already lined up. And I think, not to be cliche with if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to do what the Tampa Bay Rays did with building the Thunderdome and having that sit empty and then we'll try to recruit a team. But I think if there's a commitment for, Orange County and Orlando to say, we know this makes sense, we're going to invest in a stadium, I think that signal itself would not only attract the interest of Major League Baseball as an expansion franchise, but look at the number of teams that are for sale or are having stadium issues at themselves that wouldn't want to move down here. And I mean, I'm comfortable saying them because it's in the media. You can read it. The Chicago White Sox. You have the Kansas City Royals. You have the Minnesota Twins. You have these California Angels that are, I think, going to be for sale if they're not already. I think a lot of those folks up north would love to have their team here in Orlando.
No, I think that's right. And to make that case, and thinking of the White Sox or thinking of the Angels, that's another case for why Orlando can work as a market alongside Tampa Bay, because you have, and this is the case in New York with 2 teams, in Chicago with 2 teams, in LA with 2 teams, and in places like DC and Baltimore. So there's nothing that says that several teams in the same, we're a different metro area than Tampa, but we are, within decent proximity to each other. But it's proven that can work in a lot of places with a large enough population.
It works for New York.
I believe there's I think 14 other baseball pairs of teams that are closer in proximity than Orlando and St. Pete are. So It's already established, like you said, Brian, that there can be, close markets because it only complements that. And again, we're the 3rd largest state, and having Miami, Tampa, and Orlando media market, that's huge. That's going to be a heck of a lot more eyeballs than you're ever going to get in the state of Tennessee or in the state of North Carolina. And sorry, Dave, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I cut you off. I apologize. But you'd be surprised. I think there might have been one night, I don't remember, but I think the Mets and Yankees were both home and both stadiums were packed and both games are being played. So, that obviously New York's a huge market, but it's just the fans are there. If the fans are there, the fans are there, right? If you're going to draw on, if all 3 teams are playing in the same day, you're going to draw from the areas you're going to draw from. And it's just a no-brainer. I wanted to ask you one question regarding the stadium. I'm just looking at the renderings of the stadium. Is that a see-through dome?
I believe it is, and I forget the type of it is a see-through dome, and I forget the type of material that it is made of. But from those artists' renderings, and I'm drawing a blank on who they partnered with for their construction company. But yeah, and it's like supposedly at night you're going to be able to see the night stars, and that's how clear they want that roof. So
That's
that'll be
cool.
So
a
the only
unique
problem is
event.
you be able to see the storm passing over, but we don't have to worry about the storm.
That's true. That's
That's
true. So that's why we play indoors in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that dome stadium opens up all kinds of possibilities for other events as well, in that I Drive district. So, I mean, we can go on and on, I think, about the possibilities and the benefits of Orlando having an MLB team, and I think that's a big part of it. And I think the book, to get back to the book for a minute, but I wanted to I want to end on the book just because that's why we originally talked. But the conversation on the Dreamers, we could do this for hours. We need to sell that. I'm just gonna say I'm on board with it. So anything you need me to put out, or anybody there wants to get me involved with, I'm on board.
And
Um,
again, I'm just a lucky guy who's a huge baseball fan that the
yeah,
Dreamers allow to hang around. So like again, I'm just giving you, my opinion on what I see and what I've
Perfect.
heard and talking with people. And what you could do is you can get the 30 baseball owners to say, you know what, our vote's going to Orlando for the expansion next expansion franchise, and have Commissioner Rob Manfred make that happen.
I think, like you said, next year we get the lockout and you're going to lose fans, right? So what's the best way to regain the fanship, to bring everybody back, is to put a team in an area where everyone feels like Orlando's a happy place with all the, amusement and Disney and everything. So you want to bring the fans back. Don't put the stadium in a place, don't put the team in a place where no one's really going to go. Put the team in a place where we could build a fan base again. Because if we do have a lockout, unfortunately, we're going to lose. Baseball is going to kind of have a really hard time kind of rebuilding the brand again. The World Baseball Classic was perfect for the season. It's got us all excited for the upcoming season. Then we're going to have a down year next year and have to rebuild again. So it just makes sense to just put it in a place where people are going to know that that equals joy and happiness and fun and everything else.
And David, I didn't even think of that. And that's brilliant. I mean, if there is a lockout, everyone's coming to Orlando. And so there's going to be a reason to have 80 million people coming here and giving, baseball a chance again. And we're in a great situation because, I mean, you see the numbers coming out of Las Vegas. They're losing visitors. They're losing,
yeah.
their tourist revenue for what's going on out there. Epic this year has been a shot in the arm for Orange County on our tourist tax revenue. So we're growing, and so that's an excellent point.
Yeah, and
If
I
there's
think
a
I think
lockout,
I think Orlando's more family friendly anyway. I
Well,
mean,
no
I've
doubt.
been to
Yeah.
Vegas, but I think you have Orlando's more family friendly, more things to do for kids. I hear Vegas don't take your kids there, so you know. Yeah,
Well, I think it's yeah, and I don't want to I don't want to go off on a different topic, but what you said about the WBC and in general, but um, they have to figure out this situation because we can't afford a lockout as baseball, the momentum that's been built for Major League Baseball, and unfortunately, like everyone thinks that's the way it's going. Um, but I think people need to get back to the basics of and the raw principles of the game of baseball in this book, might help. Maybe we should send this copy to all the to Manfred and all the negotiators and the players union, to remind them what the game's about and why we like the game so much.
well, that'd be a great idea. And Grand Slam leadership. It's been a joy to write. It's been a joy for I know a lot of people to read. And the one kind of another opportunity that I've gotten from this is on my LinkedIn page. I have a weekly newsletter called Major League Mindset. And so if
Right.
you like this book and you're able to want to pick up more tips and stories and examples, go to my LinkedIn page and sign up for Major League Mindset. And it's delivered every Monday morning around 9 o'clock.
Well,
perfect.
that's perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure to get any of the links for the book and for the newsletter and all that. We'll get that into the show notes and into the onto the post when we put it out. Um, we covered a lot, but my advice to everyone is to get that book, read that book. We'll make sure that we get that information out about the Kindle Day. But I strongly advise you to buy the book because he put a lot of time into writing this thing. So we want, and Bobby, we thank you for everything you're doing in the community here, with baseball and otherwise. Bobby's a household name around my area of the world, David. So appreciate you writing this book and taking the
up in
time.
that area. I may have to move up to Orlando.
I know David's always talking to me.
World.
He's like these Orlando people. He's like everybody's plugged in somehow, and everybody's related to baseball.
Well, it's a small town. Orlando's a big small town for sure.
That's right. That's right. Well, Bobby, thank you very much for joining us today. Episode 108, and I think we hit the marks on this one, David. It was good.
Oh, this is another great one, Bobby. We talk about all our guests and how we love sharing this story, and everyone, if you want to know more about all the other guests and who we had on, make sure you subscribe. That's the big thing. You know, we're on all social media platforms and especially YouTube. You can watch this and listen to it on Skype. But I'm just excited to hear your story and know about the book. Excited to know what's coming, and hopefully, you know, it goes in the right direction because we just need more. I just need more baseball. My wife would probably not want me to say that, but I just need more places to travel.
We all need more baseball in our lives. That's right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, David. And let's play ball.
There you go. Episode 108. Thank you.